What's up, Squirtle Squad? It's me and Chipz-N-Stix. I am back with another impressions video. As you can see, I have Squirtle with me, and this time I'm super excited to actually give you my impressions on an indie game that was showcased, as of this recording, last week at the Nintendo Nindies Direct. And this game is called Raji, an Ancient Epic. Keep watching. So this game, Raji, an Ancient Epic, is from indie devs Nodding Head and published by Super. And this game is based on ancient India. This is something that you rarely even see that's done in gaming, because everything else has been done to death. You have, games on Japanese culture and Chinese culture and basically everywhere else, except, India. The last game that was, even closely related to this was Prince of Persia titles. And those did alright. Those did pretty good. They were really fun. But this is actually something similar, and it has some similarities to God of War. Now, this game does deal with the Hindu mythology, and in this game you're gonna see a bunch of Hindu representation. Two of the gods that narrate this game as you go through it are Vishnu and Durga. Now, the story is basically Raji, who is a young girl, gets caught up in this war between the gods and the demons, and in the midst of all of this, her little brother was kidnapped by the demons. And this is not just some random thing. This is actually a turn of fate, because she was chosen by the gods to fight in this war against the demons. And you'll see how that unfolds as you play through the game, and then you hear Vishnu and Durga talk about this young lady. Vishnu is more on the reserved side, where he's just, watching things unfold, as opposed to Durga, who is trying to, oversee or look after Raji in this epic quest to rescue her brother and, I guess, overall save humanity. It does take influences from certain games. Now, as I've mentioned, before, Prince of Persia and God of War. And I want to go as far as to say a little bit of Tomb Raider. Now, the reason why I say that, is because of a few things. First, we're going to deal with God of War. And I'm not talking about the PS4 game. I'm talking about the original trilogy on, the PS2 and PS3, and even some of the PSP and PS Vita titles, right? So you're playing from like a third person, almost top down angle, very much so like the original God of War games. And you even, traverse the levels as such, the same way Kratos did in God of War. And even some of the combat is similar to God of War. Now, I say it's a little similar because there's a light attack and a heavy attack, and it differs because you can't really combine the two. Because it really doesn't make a difference how you do it. It's not going to change up the style of the combos. It's just going to go from light to heavy, and it's not impressive, the way Kratos would chain together his attacks. It's really just one style, basically, if you get what I mean. So the reason why it's similar to Prince of Persia is because there is a little bit of acrobatics in this game. Now, Raji can climb walls. She can wall run. She does flips and rolls, basically, when you dodge attacks, just like in Prince of Persia. And I think it's pretty cool how they tried to implement this, in Raji. Now, I say it's it has some similarities to Tomb Raider because the levels are, I want to say, big enough to make you want to do some exploring, but there's not really much exploring to do. Granted, it's, it's overall it's a small map, in terms of the grand scheme of the game, right? And the reason why I say it does encourage you to do some exploration, because there are times where you would have, let's say, a fork in the road, and you can either go one way or the other, and it makes you want to check out what's down, road A as opposed to road B, where you're actually supposed to go. Combat is a little tricky in this game, to the point where when you attack, sometimes the enemies can power through yours, and when they attack, it can actually stun lock you. Now, whenever this happens, they usually attack in succession, and they usually attack in a rapid fashion to where it drains your health really fast. And it's a little annoying because sometimes it's like really, really hard to get out of it. And you need the blessings of the gods to be able to roll out and regroup and attack the enemies that you can attack. Now, some enemies, when they attack, they actually have this weird, it's not like an AoE attack, but when they attack from a distance, it like glides over and still hits you. It's not like going from one end of the screen to the other. No, that's not happening at all. It's just that sometimes when they attack, they cover a large distance, and then you end up getting hit. Now, when you attack, there's two things, right? The light attack is basically quick, it's fast, and the heavy attack usually makes Raji do some sort of movement towards the enemy and then attack. So her main weapon is something like a trident. She would move towards the enemy, attack, do another flip or a roll or something, and attack again, and then the last attack is usually like supposed to be the finisher, where she would just come down on you like real hard and either kill the enemy or, cause a lot of damage. And sometimes that can be a hindrance because, when the enemies can power through you, even though she's doing her attack, it can interrupt you and just completely stop you sometimes. So what I usually do is I usually attack from a distance, because her trident does send off like this little electrical beam to, hit enemies. So I usually try to do it in a distance. That way, when I follow up with another attack, I can close the distance because they've already been hit, and then I can follow up and, rinse and repeat. Now, movement is another thing, because while it may seem fluid at first, this game, especially in movement, Raji does move a little bit slow. And when you're trying to traverse obstacles like climb walls or do a wall run, sometimes you have to hit it at the right angle for the game to pick up what you're doing and basically execute that action perfectly. Like I said, if you're not at the right angle, it won't come off right. And this can lead to you running off the wall, not even running on the wall, and sometimes when you jump, you may miss your target destination. It's happened to me quite a few times. One thing that I do like about this game is the music. Now, again, being black and Indian myself, I, listen to Indian music, and I'm just, learning more about the culture itself. This game actually is a pretty good educational tool for anybody who's not, exposed to Indian culture, or has never been really exposed to Indian culture, because one, it teaches you about Hindu religion. Two, it opens you up to Indian music. Of course, this is in ancient India, so it's not going to be quite the same as present day music in India, but you still have an idea of what traditional Indian music, sounds like. And I can really appreciate that because I'm still learning about my culture. I'm American by birth. So me learning about this even more is fantastic. And for people who are interested in Indian culture, this is a great educational tool because it's in the form of a game based on what I've played and what I've seen so far. A lot of things that are not quite polished, can be because this may be their first run or their second run, who knows? But because it's an indie game, you have to give it an open mind. Nottinghead Games is actually putting out an update to basically enhance this game and make it, a much better game than when it first came out, and make improvements, most likely quality of life improvements and things that'll make it run better. So, like this video, share it, subscribe, join the Squirtle Squad, and I'll catch you in a review. Peace.